again and welcome to my channel. Today we'll be learning how to multiply and divide fractions. We'll be learning how to multiply and divide fractions. And I already have some examples on the board, but first of all, let us start with multiplication of fractions. Now, to multiply two or more fractions accurately, you have to multiply their numerators together, and then you have to multiply their denominators together. To multiply fractions accurately, what you do is you multiply their numerators together and then you multiply their denominators together. Then from the resulting fraction you get, you reduce the answer to its lowest term if possible or if necessary. But there's a very important point that we need to note, and that is if the fraction is a mixed fraction, you first of all convert it to an improper fraction before even beginning the multiplying process. So let's go to our examples and we'll see that playing out. The first fraction we have is 2 over 5 times 1 over 3. 2 over 5 times 1 over 3. And like the instruction tells us, we have to multiply the numerator and then we multiply the denominators together. Now, the numerator here is 2 times 1, and then the denominators are 5 times 3. So you multiply the numerators together, then multiply the denominators together. So 2 times 1 will give us 2, while 5 times 3 will give us 15. So you can see it is very, very easy to understand. We simply multiply the numerators together and then we multiply the denominators together. So 2 over 5 times 1 over 3 will give us 2 over 15. Now let's go to the second example under multiplication. And it says 2 1 over 2 times 1 1 over 3. We want to multiply 2 1 over 2 by 1 1 over 3. Now remember, the last statement on the direction, the instruction on how to multiply fractions said that if the fractions you're being asked to multiply are mixed fractions, then you have to convert them first and foremost to improper fractions. And of course, we know how to do that. These two fractions here are mixed fractions, so we'll just convert them to improper fractions. Starting with the first one, 2 1 over 2. Convert it to improper fraction will now be, we start from here and say this denominator multiplied the whole number, which is 2 times 2, which is 4, and we now add what we get to the numerator, which is 5. So we now have 2 times 2 plus 1 will give you 5 over 2. And if you don't not following what I'm doing here, you can go and watch my video on how to convert from mixed fractions to improper fractions. Go and watch that video, you get better understanding. So we convert this, which is a mixed number or a mixed fraction, to this, which is an improper fraction. Write our multiplication sign and we'll do the same for this. So this will now give us 3, which is the denominator, times the whole number, which is 3 times 1 plus 1. 3 times 1 is 3, and then plus 1 is 4. So we now have 4 all over 3. So now we're coming down here. Now go to the steps in multiplying fraction, which is multiply the numerators together, 5 times 4, then multiply the denominators together, 2 times 3. So now get 5 times 4 is 20, while 2 times 3 is 6. Now, some people will say, okay, this is the complete, or this is the answer, this is the solution, but what we need to understand is that we don't usually leave our fractions in improper fraction form. When we're leaving the answers of our fractions are usually in proper fractions form or in mixed fractions form. This is an improper fraction, so we don't leave our answers like this. So what we do now, we now convert this from improper to a mixed fraction. Of course, if you know how to do that, you simply say 20 divided by 6. And when we say 20 divided by 6 will now give us 3 whole number, remainder 2. That 2 will be the numerator all over the denominator, which is 6. And then for those of you that have watched my videos on simplifying of fractions or reducing fractions to the lowest term, I've said in that video that you do not leave fractions unsimplified. For example, the proper fraction here, 2 over 6, is not fully simplified because the numerator and the denominator can be divided by a single number, and that number is 2. So what we do is that we simplify this so that we can now say that we have completely, multiplied this fraction. So what we do here, we now say 3 whole number. This 2 can be divided by 2. And this 6 can also be divided by 2. Please note that when you're simplifying fractions, you divide both the numerator and the denominator by the same number. So we'll now have 3 whole number. 2 divided by 2 is 1. And 6 divided by 2 is 3. So this is now the answer to this multiplication question. I know that it may seem a bit, complicated, but follow the process. Converting of this of these mixed fractions to improper fractions, multiplying the numerators and the denominators to get the multiplication and the fraction, then also converting from improper to mixed numbers, and then reducing the fraction to its lowest term to give you exactly the answer that you should get. Now let's go to the second aspect of today's video, which is the division of fractions. Now, to divide two fractions, what you do is you multiply the first fraction by the reciprocal of the second fraction. This means that the divide sign is swapped or changed for a multiply sign. And when that is done, the second fraction is flipped upside down. Now, please note, if any of the fractions are mixed fractions, you first of all convert them into improper fractions before performing any form of division. Now, for the very first example under division, we have 3 over 10 divided by 2 over 5. And from the instruction we were given, we were told that to divide two fractions, you will change this division sign. You will change this division sign to a multiplication sign. So when you change this division sign to a multiplication sign, then you will write the reciprocal of the second fraction. And then when you've written this reciprocal of the second fraction, then you multiply it by the first fraction. So now what you do now in this case, you first of all write the first fraction, which is 3 over 10. You write the first fraction, which is 3 over 10. You now convert this division sign to a multiplication sign like this. And then you now write the reciprocal of this second fraction. Now, the reciprocal simply means that you turn this fraction upside down. That's what they mean by reciprocal. You turn this fraction upside down so that the numerator will now become the denominator and the denominator will now become the numerator. So when you change the division sign to a multiplication sign, you turn the fractions upside down of the second fraction. You turn the second fraction upside down. So here is the numerator, but you will not write 2. Instead, you will bring this 5 up, and then you take the 2 down. So this is what we call reciprocal. Reciprocal means just changing the position of the fraction, making the numerator the denominator and making the denominator the numerator. I hope you understand that. So I hope you understand this particular process. At this stage, I believe we know what to do. What we do here is now multiply the numerators together, give us 3 by 5, 3 times 5, and then we also multiply the denominators together. This will now give us 15 all over 20. So 15 all over 20. Now, at this point, we can see that this fraction is not in its lowest term. And like I always say, you have to express each fraction that you are given as its lowest term for better analysis and better understanding. So now, to express this or to simplify it, you're going to have to divide both the numerator and the denominator by its common factor. And the common factor of 15 and 20 is 5. So we divide this by 5, and we also divide 20 by 5. You divide, write it, 15 divided by 5 and 20 divided by 5. That will give us 3 all over 4, which will now be the final answer. So 3 over 10 divided by 2 over 5 will give us 3 over 4. Now let's go to the second question on division, and that is 2 over 5 divided by 1 over 5. Now the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to convert the mixed fractions into improper fractions, and we know how to do that. We say 5 times 1 plus 2 all over 5. 5 times 1 plus 2 is 7 all over 5 divided by, convert this to improper fraction, is 5 times 2 plus 1. 5 times 2 is 10 plus 1 is 11 all over 5. Okay? So we've now converted from mixed fraction to improper fraction. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to multiply the first fraction by the reciprocal of the second fraction, like we did up here. So you will say 7 over 5 times, we change the division to multiplication, and then you write the reciprocal of this second fraction, which means that it will now change from 11 over 5 to 5 over 11. So I think we understand it up to this point. So now what do? We now multiply both the numerators, 7 times 5, and we multiply both the denominators, 5 times 11, which now give us what? 35 all over 55. And as always, we now check to see if this fraction can be simplified to its lowest term. And yes, it can be simplified because 35 and 55 have a common factor of 5. So we now say 35 divided by 5 all over 55 divided by 5, which now give us 35 divided by 5 is 7, and 55 divided by 5 is 11. So at this point, we have completely simplified the fraction while also dividing the question that was given to us. So 2 over 5 divided by 1 over 5 is equal to 7 over 11. Now I hope you enjoyed the video. In case you're having problem understanding the steps, you can go back, rewatch it, and then follow the steps one by one. But if you really appreciate this video, if it's really helpful to you, then why don't you give it a thumbs up, and also subscribe, hit that notification bell so that whenever I launch one of my videos, you'll be notified. And if you have any question, just drop it in the comment section. And I'll see you in the next video.